Hi, I'm Greg. I'm the lead singer for Lipstick Generation.
I'm Steve. I'm the bassist for aforementioned.
And welcome to the Lipstick Panel. Today on the Lipstick Panel, we gathered the panelists who have the most expertise with Kiss to discuss the infamous Kiss prequel, the Wicked Lester album. And so when I think Kiss experts...
Wait a minute.
When I think Kiss experts, the only person I can think of that is perfect for this show is Victor Krause, the man who knows more about Kiss than any other panelist. So we've got Victor Krause returning on the show. Welcome, Victor.
You got it. That's why I'm here. Kiss expert number one.
You wanted the expert. You got the expert.
Yeah, we didn't invite any other panelists on the show. Certainly, we didn't get multiple cancellations. We only invited Victor because we realized, he would make everyone else look bad, but with, his wealth of knowledge of knowing everything about the band, so...
The breadth of his knowledge about the Wicked Lester. Specifically the Wicked Lester, not Kiss.
Right.
He just knows everything there about Wicked Lester.
It's more efficient to have me, because if you have a bunch of, half experts, like Julian and, everybody, then it's everybody has a little bit to contribute. Whereas if it's me, I just know everything, and I can just say it all in one go.
And,
check it out.
That's why we're so glad to have you. So, Victor, do you remember, we typically go around the panel, talk about our history with the band and the album. Do you remember your thoughts on this album? What year did this come out? What year was it recorded?
I believe, it didn't come out.
Right, it's an unreleased record that you can find easily on YouTube because, hey, internet.
And it was recorded in 1972?
Yeah, there you go. 1971 and 72, you got it. Kiss expert Victor. Sorry, Wicked Lester expert Victor.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's your history with Wicked Lester, the band, the album, Kiss in general? Go ahead and tell us your history.
So I was actually, I was in Detroit in the early 70s. So I was, kind of around the scene hearing things about this Gene, this Paul, various things such as this. And, obviously... we all know that they eventually formed Kiss, but I was actually interning at the studio where they recorded all of these songs, except for one of them that I think I remember seeing was recorded at a different time. I think it was maybe Long, Long Road.
It was literally named
Long Road.
Yeah, that you beat me to the joke. Damn it.
I was so to continue with this real story, I was interning at the studio, kind of learning from the engineer, apprenticing the engineer really for the recording session here because it was pretty low stakes. So I heard all these songs back then, and then Greg messaged me the other day and was like, "Hey, we're gonna do this album," and then I was listening to it and I was like, "Holy Christ, I worked on this album." That probably doesn't happen for a lot of guests on this show.
It's actually happened a couple times.
A couple of times. Okay, fair enough. To me also.
Right.
So yeah, this is one I've I haven't revisited in a long time, but going back to it was a really nostalgic experience.
And so, Steve, how about you? What's your history with Kiss, Wicked Lester, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace? What's your history with the Kiss prequel?
So I was actually in Wicked Lester. I was their drummer for a brief period. None of these songs had been written yet. We had a whole different set. Needless to say, there was some stuff happened, and I ended up fired from the band.
Oh my God, I just missed you.
Yeah, we just missed each other. But years later, when I saw Best of the Beatles come out, I was like, hold on, I could do that same thing. And so I released an album of my solo work called Best of Kiss. And needless to say, they had better lawyers than Paul McCartney. And so I lost the case. And part of the NDA was I wasn't allowed to talk about it until the year 2020. So it got really swept under the rug. But yeah, this is now it can be public knowledge.
Wow. No wonder you didn't need any other guests. You got a bunch of insiders.
Greg?
Yeah, and my history, I don't have too much history with the Wicked Lester album in particular because I was in the band Chelsea, which Peter Criss was in around the same time. So, we were really hitting the club scene hard. That record actually came out. Didn't sell as well. We were all kind of bummed, disappointed by it. We all went our separate ways. And so it wasn't until years later when I was hanging out with Pete, shooting up Christmas trees as we want to do. And he was saying, hey, did you hear this fucking album that these guys did before I was in the band? It's absolute shit. And so he had me listen to it. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is a pretty silly album. And then I forgot about it for years and years, and now I'm talking about it on the internet with you guys.
All right.
So,
this is
general...
entirely...
Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
So this is an entirely not fabricated panel of experts for this episode.
We all know exactly what we're talking about.
To quote another band that I was in, U2, it's even better than the real thing.
My favorite U2 quote for situations like this is exactly what I was looking for.
And I have it.
It is in my possession.
So this album never officially released. So the band was signed to Epic Records, and Epic was actually going to release the album in 1977 after they saw that Kiss was successful and were going to try to make some money off it. And so Kiss's label bought back the album for $138,000 to not release it. So... because it was very different than the brand that Kiss had set themselves up as, and, they thought would potentially hurt Kiss going forward. So it was worth more than $138,000 to make sure that this album never saw the light of day. And here we are talking about it.
Whoops, take that, day.
So you guys ready to get into this ranking?
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
So coming in as the least best song on Kiss Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, we've got Keep Me Waiting. So, kind of uncontroversial. I put this at the bottom. Victor put this second from the bottom. Steve gave it 5 points out of a possible 11. So, Steve, since you gave this the highest praise, do you want to go first?
I guess I can. Wait, we're talking about Keep Me Waiting?
Yes.
Oh, I mostly gave it some bonus points because the bass sounds like a tuba, and I thought that was hilarious. And it also had the solo had a pretty decent change up. Honestly, compared to some latter Kiss music, this album overall probably isn't even terrible. It had a couple of moments where I was like, why does this sound like a tuba? Also, my perspective of this album is largely thrown off by the first listen through. I realized halfway through the Friday we originally had this episode scheduled that I'd forgotten to listen to the album. So I frantically listened to it all on 1.5 speed.
Oh, powerful.
It was a very different experience than,
the actual
later when I listened to it at regular speed. It was less tuba-like the second time, which was disappointing.
Well, there were horns on the track. So it's possible you did hear actual tubas there.
That is one thing I was wondering. Was Gene or Paul playing the horns?
Neither. Unlike in our band, which is much better because our members can play horns, they had to get some other dude to play the horns. Actually, it looks like he's an official band member. Brooke Ostrander played piano and horns on the album.
Okay.
All right.
I remember Brooke.
Yeah, good.
Horns aren't super complicated.
Right. But yeah, so I want to give a quick note to Steve Cornell, who was basically replaced by a studio guitarist because he was a really shitty guitar player and blew his audition. And now that guy is in jail for child porn. And so just fuck that guy for being a bad, lazy musician and for child pornography. Just all around bad dude.
God. Holy shit.
I looked at you start off that as a shout out. I think you meant shout at.
Yeah, shout at. What a piece of shit. So he
want to shout it at him.
Yeah, he co-wrote a couple Kiss songs, and basically, how we've had guitar players who just didn't practice the set and then sucked and blew it, and then we looked really bad live because that guitar player didn't practice the set. So he's that guy plus child porn. So fuck that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this song, it's fine. It is, it's I don't think there's a bad song on this album. Um, this one has like a good momentum to it. The horns are kind of fun. Um, but I don't know. I feel like with a lot of this album, it is sort of lacking its own distinct identity, and I think that's sort of the problem with Wicked Lester is that these are like some fun songs, but they don't necessarily add up to something cohesive. But I mean, this is fine. Like it's a standard pop song.
Yeah, this one's okay. I really like the intro, and the chorus is pretty good, but I feel like the rest of it is just kind of mediocre aside from some arrangement choices that we've already mentioned.
Yeah, so Keep Me Waiting, it's fine. Any other comments before we move on? All right.
Nah.
Well, next up on the list is a bit more controversial, where I gave it 8 points. Victor put this in last place, and Steve gave it 2 points. So we've got Long, Long Road next on the list.
And I will say, Greg, I don't think this is a bad song necessarily. I just think there are production choices in this particular one, or maybe arrangement choices would be better, or the better term, that really mess it up for me. I think otherwise it's fine. But I think the harmonies in the chorus are really bad.
I'm actually fine with the harmonies, and I've don't get me wrong, there are some Kiss releases where the harmonies I have gripes with, but they work for me on this track. I really love the part where actually Gene takes a lead vocal in the song for a line. I thought that was very, very cool. The song is very, very silly in a number of ways, where Paul Stanley's singing about just like, my daddy worked on the railroad tracks and my grandpa was a coal miner or whatever, and just like he's a Jew from New York, like out in Queens. So it's just like he's trying to like have that like rural heartland America, like folksy, harmonica on the rail car kind of vibe. But just like knowing his background and knowing that he's just like, a 17, 18-year-old kid trying to sound worldly. And in that way, it's very precious. Because like,
precious.
He sings on this album in a much lower register than he does on a lot of Kiss releases. And so he's really trying to sound like burly and macho on this release, as opposed to other releases where he's going for the more, high-pitched vocal. And so like, it's kind of weird where it's like 17-year-old Paul Stanley sounds like, 40-year-old Paul Stanley. And like you realize like, wait, so this wasn't Paul Stanley in the early 90s? Like, no, this is Paul Stanley in the early 70s. And his voice just naturally got that gravel, but here he's trying to force it. But I mean, even though like it's kind of silly in that way, I do sincerely like the song. And it's nice to hear like, Paul as a songwriter exploring this kind of lyric. And even at an immature stage, it's ultimately more interesting than most of the Kiss catalog. So, and I sincerely like it a lot musically. And I think if I didn't know it was Paul Stanley doing it, I would probably have a higher opinion of it and take it more seriously. But because I know it's, a 17-year-old Jewish kid from Queens who just like was never outside of New York City, that makes it funnier.
You just really would respect it more if it was a Billy Joel song.
Right, exactly. So, Steve, what are your thoughts on this one?
Harmonicas are one of those instruments that, like, are very hit or miss for me. More likely miss. Like, as soon as I hear a harmonica, like harmonicas and steel guitars, there's a couple of instruments that just, once that's on a track, it takes a lot to get me invested. And French horns are one of those instruments that if I hear those on a track, I'm like, whoa, kick-ass French horns. Yeah, let's do this thing. But even that wasn't enough to like, it wasn't a strong enough song to overcome the harmonica bias.
I think for me, one of those instruments is violin, actually.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah. I think when I hear that in a song that's supposed to be dramatic, I think that really is like, okay, you're really, really pressing the gas pretty hard, aren't you?
Oh,
it feels like cheating.
See, for me, you need a fake violin for a song that's going to be really dramatic.
Okay.
You need a fake violin and like a really good guitarist and an operatic vocalist, singing about hunting werewolves or whatever.
What about maybe a real violin and then a Christian vocalist?
Ooh, no. No. Hillsong, I think, is the devil. That's excessive. I have a lot of issues with Christian music, contemporary and popular Christian music. That probably this particular episode of this particular podcast is not the place to delve into them.
But talk about a couple of nice Jewish boys from Queens and just turn that into a discussion about how you hate Hillsong.
Right? No, like I would rather hear Kiss doing CCM than Hillsong United.
Because at least you know Kiss was sincere about just making money off of it.
Right. No, yeah, Kiss is honest. They're like, we're going to do this because we're going to make money. Whereas Hillsong's like, this is to praise God into giving us money.
All right, so yeah, Hillsong is terrible. Any other comments?
The long, long road to salvation.
I mean, we started off with Victor doesn't like violins. Victor doesn't like violins on songs.
That's why he hates the Final Fantasy 13 soundtrack.
I don't hate it.
That music is all about killing.
Right. Yeah, long road. It's a song. It's not as good as Long Long Man. Next up on the list is Molly.
All right.
Yeah, I put it pretty low mids. It's it's a ballad. It's a ballad by essentially Kiss, so it is what that's always going to end up being.
Amazing and great.
Not Beth.
It's true. It's not Beth.
Yeah, it's Molly.
Right.
I think this is where, honestly, I think this song also has a lot of really good things about it. I like the chord progression. I just don't think the song writing is like totally grabs me, but I think this is at least on the right track to being a really good song. And I think basically from here on up, I pretty much like everything else. But this one, my only note is when you're trying to be the Beatles.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the the chord progression and melody quite a bit at the beginning of the song because it is very Beatle-esque, which is a big plus for me. And I think if it sort of stayed as like a short little acoustic number, I probably would like it better. But then it goes into just this like 70s like funk porno soundtrack kind of section where it's still keeping that same melody and chord progression, but with that instrumentation, it's like, wow, why did you go here of all the places you could have gone? Where they're
being more honest about it. They're like, girl, I'm gonna tell you that I love you until you touch my penis.
I mean, it's still not bad, but it's just it feels a little bit less timeless to me. Like it's very like, oh yeah, this was early 70s. This would be played on the radio next to Precious and Few and like some Bay City Rollers. So it's like I don't think it's bad, but I think it would have excelled if it had stayed acoustic the whole way through.
See that? Then it would also be a really like an even better dynamic change from the album up to that point.
I just really like the idea of Greg giving commentary on the state of the radio 20 years before he was born.
I mean, I listened to those songs.
It was fine. I just didn't like hearing Bay City Rollers on the radio all the time.
Look, I listened to those. What I'm saying is that it fits in well with that style of music that was available at the time. That was like it's very contemporary for what its time. I'm not saying that's like a good or I'm kind of saying it's a bad thing. You know what? It's because they're not doing it as well. Like there are other acts at the same time doing the same thing much better with stronger songs, and it feels like it's not
the idea of you grousing about the radio specifically, in that is a very temporal format. Like the radio happens in real time, and short of a few archival projects, it's not something that can be consumed years later. It can only be remembered, and so you reminiscing on a temporal experience that you were not able to experience is silly.
Okay, so you are correct in a number of ways, but the way that I judge it is I'm someone who has listened to a lot of those songs on playlists and looked at the chart positions and know generally when those songs were playing around the same time. As someone who listens to a lot of those artists, I understand this song would fit in on a radio playlist of that era, but I think that the songwriting does not call for that kind of instrumentation and ultimately hurts the material. So I'm more grousing about it, trying to fit in with that style of the era rather than allowing the songwriting to shine with the proper instrumentation, sir.
Oh, no, I know exactly what you're complaining about. I'm just, like, making fun of your delivery.
That's right. That's why we're besties.
Get a room?
Yeah.
I guess.
And, while I'm just angering people with
There
my
aren't any
delivery,
doors attached to it right now.
while I'm angering people with my delivery, just, for the people out there who might end up listening to this, Tool sometimes sounds like Limp Bizkit. Anyway, that's on the list.
What do you think is the overlap of people who are going to listen to a Wicked Lester podcast and have strong opinions on Tool versus Limp Bizkit?
Okay, so the thing is...
Julia, sorry for Greg's bad take.
Here's the thing. Kiss fans will listen to every episode, and a lot of Kiss fans are into 90s bands. So, there's... I'm going to anger at least one person. And for you... Ha.
I love how as the show has progressed, we've become increasingly aggressive to our fan base.
Yeah, all
our show, fuck you.
all 60 of them that still listen. Anyway, next up on the list we have what?
59.
59 now. We just lost Nick. He's gone.
And he was my favorite.
The Tool fan.
That was the last straw.
Nick the Tool fan.
Alright, so next up is What Happens in the Darkness.
What happens in the sharkness?
Better song.
Where are my notes?
This one's pretty good though.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like this is a solid album track. Everyone's having a good time. At some point, somebody goes, "Ah!" Which is pretty good.
yeah, I mean, this one has good energy. You can, dance to it. I think that the finished product is ultimately stronger than Molly, but I think I like the chord progression and beginning of Molly much more than this entire piece. So that's why I ranked it one below Molly. But yeah, it's a cool song. Good energy. Shake your booty to it. I like it.
I think it was okay, but then I put it down at regular speed instead of 1.5 speed, and I was like, this is a lot less fun when it's normal speed instead of like dumb punk energy speed.
I mean, isn't that always your complaint with Kiss, is that it should be 1.5 times faster?
Only early Kiss. Oh, wait. I don't even usually say 1.5 times faster. I'm like, it should be like 20% faster. Also, but this one, like if you did the normal, like speed it up 1.5 using the technology available at the time, you would have gotten the Chipmunk thing, and that would have kicked ass.
Oh, that would have been really good.
Turbo Emo Wicked Lester?
I'm pretty sure that Turbo Emo compilation you made for me a couple years ago had at least one Kiss song, so basically.
Yeah. It had, I think it had 1,000,000 to 1, because that is one of the most emo Kiss songs ever.
Yep.
But yeah, What Happens in the Darkness? It's a song. Any other comments before we move on?
It's a good time.
It's a good time. Not a great oldie, but a good time.
I would love to hear an album where this was the worst song, because that would be a really good album.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, it's not a bad song. It's not necessarily, it's not a stone cold classic, but like you put it on and it's not offensive. Like, yeah, this is pretty enjoyable. Like, you're enjoying listening to it, and it's not hurting the album experience.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any songs on this album that like came up and was like, this is garbage and I hate it. There's a lot of songs that I'm like, meh about. There's none of those trademark Kiss being super gross, why would they say such a thing songs.
Well, this was early. I realized that was their shtick.
Ironically, this is like the one's album where a song like Christine 16 would have flown. Be like, oh, you're an 18-year-old who's flirting with an underclassman. Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Right. All right. Well, next up,
your parents should probably know about this, but who cares?
Yeah, right. It depends on the state. Anyway, next up on the list, we have a song that Steve gave 10 points to and elevated pretty high. We've got When the Bell Rings, next on the list.
I mean, I like this one too.
Oh yeah, I thought it had good hooks.
And it's got a really good outro jam.
This one went up like 3 or 4 points on my ranking on the second listen.
Yeah, I think it's a good song. It has good rock energy. I just think there are stronger pieces on the album. And sequencing wise, it's very odd in its placement because it seems to completely negate the song that came previous to it. Now, it's possible that it's possible that the sequencing, it's a fan-made sequence, so we don't know what the actual intended sequence of the album was. But the idea of this song being like, wake the fuck up, people, shit's going down. And the song right before that was like, man, I just want to sleep in and relax and not worry about things. If
it's a fan sequencing, that was probably an intentional decision. A terrible intentional decision.
Probably. But there is some charm to that. And also, I would like to think that it wasn't a fan decision, and it was just what the band decided to do without any sense of irony. Because Kiss is at their best when they're not in on the joke. Where they're just like, man, we are so cool, you guys. We've got this, edgy protest song, man. But also, that does speak to, how of its time it is, where it's like, here's our edgy protest song, you guys.
Of course, with the early 70s and a low-budget studio, one of the real concerns would have been there would have been real technical concerns with sequencing, in that you can't just put together the most coherent flow of songs in the album. You have to have the flow of songs that translates well to vinyl.
Right.
So, I don't know. Who knows how that influenced their decisions? They might have looked at it and been like, ooh, this is really goofy that we got our Wake Up song right after our I Love to Sleep song. Actually, did they put that on the, I wonder if that would have been on the side break. That would have been fairly clever sequencing.
Yeah, shoot.
Then they could have titled it like an REM record, where one side is the sleep side and one side is the awake side.
Or if it's revealed, the entire album is the sleep side.
Oh, folks.
I mean, REM, aren't all their songs about sleeping on some level?
I can think of a couple that are definitely about sleeping. There's one called Day Sleeper.
Their band is literally named after a sleep cycle.
That's true.
So yeah, speaking of songs about sleeping, Too Many Mondays is actually next on the list.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one spot above it. Yay, sequence.
So my number 1 is immediately followed by my number 0 last.
Okay, because it's my number 2.
You didn't rank this as your number 1. You changed your ranking.
Yeah, no, Too Many Mondays I put at the end.
Right, but When the Bell Rings is not your number 1.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. There was a line break that I missed.
But yeah, so yeah, Too Many Mondays. Victor and I both liked this one.
Yeah.
Victor, you ranked it
Yeah,
the
but
highest.
Greg, you liked it for the same reasons I disliked it, I guarantee.
Why did you dislike it? And we'll see if it's for the same reasons that I liked it.
This is listen to what the flower people say.
Yes?
Yeah, that's why you liked it, isn't it?
Yes? I mean...
All right, that's why I didn't like it.
Do you know how much of Spinal Tap was just Kiss, Deep Purple, and Black Sabbath? It's just those 3 bands.
Yep.
Yeah, but Gene and Paul also invented Garfield.
What?
Go on.
Too Many Mondays.
Oh, yep. Oh, you meant the cat, not the president.
Yeah. What? Who talks about that president anymore?
I do. I mean, look, non-consecutive terms is pretty impressive. Defeating the Republican political machine. Fighting against corruption, bro.
Yeah, but eating lasagna and sleeping.
It's a good point. I can't refute that. Shit, you're right.
You love sleep and lasagna.
You're goddamn right.
Also, Mondays are pretty weak sauce. They happen like every week.
Right.
That feels like too often.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is...
See, Steve? What do you have to gripe about with this song?
Other than, the life cycle of a band being incredibly predictable. Where even you started off in a 60s pop band and you weren't even trying. Like, I'm gonna be in a
Started
punk
off in a
rock
shitty
band.
rock band.
You were in a punk band that accidentally played 60s pop. Look, that's the life cycle of a musician, and then you transition into heavier stuff. That's what you're most known for. I mean, it's dumb, but that's the way life works, bro. You start
And then
off
you
with your
transition
Too Many
to
Mondays.
proggier versions of that heavier stuff that nobody likes.
Right? No one gives a shit about your proggier stuff, and even though that's where your heart is, for commercial purposes, you can't really do that.
And then you go back to trying to do your heavier stuff, but not as well. There's just not that same youthful energy to it. And your fan base is older and less elastic. And they just don't have time to be excited about it anymore.
Yes.
And
Well-
then COVID-19 shuts down your big reunion tour.
I mean, yes. So we've
It
got...
happens to every band.
It happens to every... The thing is that is basically also our exact story. But it happens to so many bands. But I think, to me, the concept of the song is so incredibly, like... The way I was making fun of Tool lyrics for thinking that they're deep when they're actually dumb is the exact same criticism for this, but it's a more fun pop song, so I'm having a better time. Because, like, man, I don't like Mondays, 'cause I have to, like, get up and go to work. Wouldn't it be great if Mondays just weren't a thing? Like, no, it would move to a different day of the week. It's not...
Yeah, but how much better would this song be if the lyrics followed a Fibonacci pattern?
that was actually the first Tool song that I liked was that one. Turns out when you, like, force, math to make your song good, like, yeah, there's an equation for a good song. They figured it out.
Mondays are all I see in...
But yeah, I think it's got a good melody. I mean, it's not written by the members of Wicked Lester. This is a Barry Mann Cynthia Weil collab, and they wrote some great pop songs. So,
What were those words you just strung together, Greg?
Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil, they're a husband-wife songwriting team.
I didn't hear the "and." I just heard Barry Mann, Cynthia. Wow. I was like, that.
I didn't say "and," but I implied Barry Mann, Cynthia Weil, assuming that everyone here has an encyclopedic knowledge of pop songwriters from the 60s and 70s.
Which you were right to do. I think another thing I like about this song, though, is it's like they're doing a lot of style shopping at this point in their career, and this one feels like, at least from a lyrical standpoint, they're borrowing a little bit from the kind of like less, like, more whimsical concerns of the Beach Boys, where they just have songs that are kind of about random shit that is technically true, but is also like, why did you write a song about this? And I admire that mode of songwriting very much.
Random shit that is technically true, but why did you write a song about it?
Right. Yeah, so, this...
Style shopping. I like that description of things, because that explains, my 60s rock band in college that Greg keeps on telling me is 60s rock. It also explains, Lipstick too.
Yeah, exactly.
Lipstick 1, we're like, all right, we're a rock band. Lipstick 2, we're like, well, let's shop around a little bit, though.
Right? Oh, ska? That looks fun. Put that in the cart. Ooh, pop punk? Put a little bit of that in there.
Don't mind if I do.
Ooh, British
acoustic ballad with upright bass.
Ooh, British whimsy? I'm sure we'll love that.
This will look great next to the duvet.
The kids,
now we just need to figure out what
fan
a
base
duvet
will get
is
a big
where to
kick
get
out of this.
So, other than it being listened to the Flower People, is there any other reasons you dislike it?
Yeah, this is just like unironic. Listen to what the Flower People say. Is like I'm less excited about Kiss when they're not in on the joke than you are, Greg.
Oh, I mean, that's their real life Spinal Tap. That makes it great. It's like, oh, they actually did this. This is amazing. Well, next up on the list, we've got a song that Steve and Victor both gave 7 points to that I only gave 5 points to. We've got She next on the list.
All right.
Oh yeah, this was okay. So I wrote down just like the most obscure joke I possibly could with this one, which is that the song is okay, but it just reminds me I'd rather be listening to the Chrono Trigger soundtrack.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
I'm not going to explain that joke.
you dislike the
Go
song
listen
that
to the Chrono
much?
Trigger episode.
Because I feel like you didn't hate this album experience, so that's why I'm confused as to why you made that joke.
Well, Greg, you understand the joke, right? I don't need to explain it to you.
No, I actually don't, because I know you hated the Chrono Trigger experience because it was so long and drawn out. So is this song just too long and drawn out?
No, it sounds like Jethro Tull, and like one of the the original draft of the joke was, this just reminds me I'd rather be listening to Jethro Tull. So the updated version is Chrono Trigger soundtrack.
Because of the
Chrono Trigger had songs that sounded like Jethro Tull.
Got it.
Jokes
Yeah.
are always funnier if you explain them.
I mean,
They're definitely funnier if you go back and listen to a 3-hour podcast episode to get them.
4-hour podcast, two-parter, sir,
And hey,
which Victor actually listened to.
I
what
did.
is wrong with you?
I'm a fan. One of the worst things you can be.
But, yeah, so speaking of one of the worst things you can be, this song was co-written by Stephen Cornell. What a piece of shit. But you know what? Hey, it's a bitchin' riff. It's a good riff. And you know what? You haven't lived till you heard She played with flute, as many of the YouTube commenters said, in comparison to the
so
Kiss
many
version.
YouTube comments about that. They also made the Jethro Tull joke, which is why I had to update my version.
Didn't want to, get sued from the YouTube comments section.
Some random YouTube commenter be like, friend, you stole my joke.
Yeah, look, joke theft is very serious. Do you want to be the next Carlos Mencia? Is that what you want to be?
I mean, I'm funny. I'm an immigrant. I feel like I could be.
Checking all of the most important boxes.
Yeah, you and Carlos Mencia are basically the same person.
It's true.
So yeah, Victor, what are your thoughts on She?
I think the only real problem I have with this song is that it, at least in the sequencing we listened to, it interrupts the song before it. And I also like the song before it. But other than that, I think I really like how this is put together. I did listen to the Kiss version a couple of times. I think I actually like this one more, but the instrumentals in the Kiss version are a lot better.
I would agree. I would say if you had, let's say, the guitar tone of the Kiss version, the vocal production of this version, and the flute of this version, like if you combine those together, that's the best version of the song. Add the flute and add the vocal production of this version, but then everything else from the Kiss version, I think that'd be like the perfect version of the song.
Yeah, it'd be like wild and psychedelic, but have a little bit more of the focus that they had on the next iteration.
Yeah. But, it is interesting to hear, how a song develops between projects and what they keep in and what they strip out. It's a fascinating process. Steve, I'm sure you noticed all the similarities and differences between the two versions.
Yes, because I totally went back and listened to the Kiss version.
In between sifting for screws in a metal bucket, I presume.
It's a plastic bucket. But yes. Yes, that is what I'm mostly doing.
And after this week, folks, we're taking some time off so Steve can actually get stuff done around the house, and I don't keep interrupting him with these podcasts.
The tragedy being that we'll mostly be done with this project after this week.
Hooray!
Chicken chaser.
But yeah, so do you have any general comments on this song, Steve?
No, not really. Yeah, I just had the Chrono Trigger joke. Yeah, where did I put this one? I put this one toward the mid. It's fine. I guess I can see why it made the transition to being a Kiss song and not just a Wicked Lester song.
Because, like, shoot, we're out of songs. What do we have? You know what? This one can work. It's about taking off her clothes, man. That totally works with my new shtick.
They say that.
They do reference female nudity.
Speaking of songs that transitioned into being Kiss songs, next up is Love Her All I Can.
Yeah, this was a really obvious, oh, we got to do this one, right?
Right, and also the improvement is also very obvious between the versions.
Definitely, yeah.
There's certain parts of the She version of Wicked Less where like, oh, I like this a little bit better, and this I prefer to the Kiss version, but then just Love Her All I Can is just, no, the Kiss version smokes this and just destroys it, demolishes it.
But I also think I like this song more.
Oh, I agree. It's a much better song than She.
I put it higher. Because this is, we get Paul. This is like a really good Paul performance. He's really going ham. I think this has some similar to Long Road. Has some kind of like off-kilter harmony choices, and I think they execute them better in the Kiss version. But because this album is like kind of more psychedelic, it still kind of works here. And then when it gets into the more normal rock groove and Paul is just going for it, it's pretty great. But the guitar work in the Kiss version is just like so much better.
Yeah, I mean, Ace Frehley, good guitarist, for, as much griping as Steve might have about him. Look, he played the guitar well in his prime.
Sure, he played the guitar fine. He was just a boring songwriter.
I disagree, about certain songs at least. Some songs I'll give you like, yeah, I can see why that's boring, but then others I'm just like, depends on the material. This song in particular, I think, once again, Paul Stanley singing this burly and macho this early in his career is really hilarious because he's really trying to sound older than he is, sound worldly and experienced. But lyrically, this is actually one of the best Kiss songs because it's all about just like, I'm in a healthy relationship and everything is good and I'm going to treat her with respect and kindness. And that's the song.
That's weird that would be the one they turn into a Kiss song.
Because the riff is bitchin'. And like it actually kind of stands out in the Kiss catalog because it's just like so classy and respectful and not demeaning towards women. Which of course had to get the start of their weird, psychedelic, pre-Kiss band. But this version, isn't maybe as great as I'd like it to be. But I think the writing is so good is why I elevate it so high. Sleven?
Wow. That's a thing I haven't heard in a while. My take on this song is I found it pretty forgettable, honestly. I had forgotten, in fact, that this was one of the ones that got transitioned to Kiss. And that's some really bad cowbell tone. Their cowbell does not sound good.
That's
a shame, because cowbells are great. Yeah, it's almost like they, and this ended up being recorded kind of on the cheap.
I mean, hey, this was a major label release that then the label heard and decided they don't want to release it.
Right.
Like they were
which is I think is interesting because I both completely understand that decision, but I also think it's a pretty good album, and I also think it's only a good album when you listen to it now after knowing what Kiss became. I think if you listen to it at the time, you'd be like, whatever. This just sounds like it was the 70s or whatever. But I think going back to it now, it's actually really interesting and mostly really good.
I would agree, and I would say that I think honestly that Kiss should just finally release a version of it because the fans would buy it, and there's been enough distance between it where most people just view it as a fun curiosity and add it to their collection. I don't think it's going to hurt their brand to release it at this point. But I agree as to like why the label president would hear it and be like, "What? I can't sell this." I totally get that, but I think also which is like with music becoming so eclectic and there being so much stuff out there, this does serve as a fun curiosity album, and it's also like a good listen. Like it's not terrible either.
Yeah.
Artist development is such a fascinating concept in this modern era that, like, you know, like everything you gotta just put everything out by yourself, and like there's like if you get major label support, it's often just like you get one chance and they may or may not even release or promote your album, and then that's it, move on. They've got somebody younger and hotter than you. But the idea that they would, you know, put out your album, shelve it, let you come back with a different project, and then still like develop you as an artist over the course of a number of albums, it's just surreal in our modern era.
Well, what happened was Wicked Lester got signed to Epic Records to record an album, and then they heard it and decided, wow, this sucks. We're not going to put it out. And so Kiss actually had to get bought out of their Epic Records contract when they got signed to Casablanca. So like they had, like Casablanca's management had to buy Gene and Paul away from Epic to record for their label because they were still in contract with them. Because Casablanca believed that they could make money with Kiss, and were willing to make that investment. But yeah,
which is, you know, again, weird.
It's weird, but you know the label president, you know, he was a bubblegum pop guy. Like he had some hits in the '60s doing bubblegum pop hits, and he believed that Kiss had a strong commercial appeal that could, you know, have pop crossover success, which he was right about.
It's true. Like, he did make a boatload of money.
Yeah, so, and I think, you know, one of the reasons that I liked our project of going through the Kiss catalog and the Pumpkins catalog is that you got to see the development of an artist and how the artist grows over time, and I think we both picked interesting catalogs in terms of, like, how the artist developed and changed and grew through the different eras. It's just, you know, I like the changes. Is sort of the difference between us. But yeah, so Love Her All I Can, it sure is a song. Any other comments before we move on?
It's a goddamn song.
Speaking of goddamn songs, next up on the list we have Simple Type. It's a goddamn song.
This one. So there's a couple songs on this album that vaguely speak to the you know, dumb punk in me. And my notes on this one, like, I don't much care for it. I don't usually like blues rock, but I ranked this one like third, I think, because it's got that youthful dumb fuck energy, which I believe is Victor's term.
That sounds like
it just like, it sounds like kids playing rock and roll and having fun. And even if I don't like the type of rock and roll they're doing, that speaks to me on a level.
You feel the sincerity coming off the track, and it's infectious. Where you're like, I'm not into this genre, but damn, they're kids having fun, and who am I to knock that?
Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's sincerity to the track. I ranked it lower because I don't care about the young dumb fuck energy. I just want the song to be good. So as much as that speaks to you, I'm just like, oh man, I would have preferred. I just think there's better songs in the album. I think it's a good song. And one of the songs that I've maybe underrated over the years in terms of the Wicked Lester album. And it's very, very Hollies-esque, this song, where it starts off with a riff that is just not related to the rest of the song in any way. That is a very Hollies kind of thing to do. And the trade-off between, you know, Gene's more Beatles-y vocals and Paul's more aggressive, raspy vocals is a really, like, good ebb and flow to the piece. And I feel like this is supposed to define Wicked Lester as a band, and it definitely doesn't. But
yeah,
it's fun. It's fun.
Well, that's the thing with, like, if you're going to do the blues rock thing, you kind of have to really ride. If that's your defining thing, you have to just ride the blues rock train. You can't be like, yeah, we're a blues rock band. Anyway, here's our psychedelic song.
Right. And they put both of them in the same song.
Right.
It's also just kind of interesting to be like, the first recorded instance of Paul going ham. Here it is.
Right. And, you know, the boys trading off lead vocals.
Yeah.
The boys.
famed boys.
And
Those two mop tops from
those two
England
mop tops
or
from
whatever. England or
Two
wherever
mop
they're from.
tops from New York.
And I'll say this, I like this style of Gene singing better than what he does on most Kiss stuff. I like Beatlesy Gene. I think his style that he does on the Kiss songs works better for those songs, but in terms of like, what do I enjoy as a vocalist more? The stuff that sounds like my favorite band or the stuff that sounds like a guy doing an impression of somebody?
The guy that sounds like my favorite band or the guy that is my third favorite band?
They're
Gene Simmons solo?
Look, Kiss is probably truthfully down to number 5. I think the Frozen team has overtaken them. You know, like Thin Lizzy ousted them from the Holy Trinity because, you know, Phil Lynott, good Catholic boy, deserves to be in the Holy Trinity.
That's a good thing to say. I feel like the Catholic would be super excited about that.
Right. But, yeah, when I did my ranking of my top 10 favorite bands on my YouTube channel, I ranked Kiss number 4, but said truthfully they're probably number 5, but I felt really bad about putting them one spot lower than the Frozen team. I just didn't have the heart to do that yet.
But it's getting there.
I mean, it's there. I just didn't want to admit it. Didn't want to admit it to myself.
So instead you admit it deep in the Wicked Lester album.
I mean, no, I admitted it in the video too. I said, look, Kiss is number 4, but probably they're actually number 5, but I just didn't feel like ranking them lower today. But yeah, Simple Type, it's a song. Speaking of songs...
This album, it's an album.
Next up on the list, we have the number 2 song in the ranking. We've got Sweet Ophelia next on the list.
Okay, this was actually my number 1.
Yeah, this was your number 1. It was my number 2. So Victor tanked this one.
Oh.
Yeah, but not that much.
Yeah, not that much.
I like this one too.
So Victor, why don't you tell us why you like this one?
So we've already discussed they do a Beatles song, they do sort of a Beach Boys song, they do a Spinal Tap song, and then this is their Led Zeppelin song.
Some real layers to that analysis. Real layers of wrongness.
Yeah, I mean, that is remarkably wrong on a number of levels.
It's a good take. I like it for that.
You know what, Steve, your turn.
All right.
I don't have anything else to say.
So back to the punk energy. This was a a really decently catchy song with some good hooks and some good variety in what they were doing with those melodies. And I've sort of listening to it as like, I could picture a pop punk band in the 90s doing a version of this song that I would have thought was amazing when it first came out. Like just a little bit more arrangement to stack up more harmonies and, those dumb, crunchy power chord guitars playing too fast. I would have thought it would have been great.
Yeah, I think this is, of all the songs on the album, I think the top 2 are the most essential songs. I think the number 1 song, I think, is a better written song. But I think this is, in terms of, the best recording from this era, I would say this is probably number 1. In that, the guitars are appropriately heavy in the right spots and just, crack your ribs and just get your attention. It's a great vocal from Paul, which is the right vocal for the material. The song is very catchy, good dynamics, good build, well produced. And this is one where I could see if it comes up on a playlist, cranking it up and being yeah, it's a really, really great song. So yeah, any other comments on Sweet Ophelia before we move on?
I will admit I made the Led Zeppelin comparison in my notes before realizing that I mixed up the name Ophelia and Penelope because I've been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
What do you mean Assassin's Creed has ruined your ability to recognize mythology and history accurately?
I thought it was about Odysseus' wife.
So
it's not.
My only experience with Assassin's Creed was I dated a girl once, and her idea of hanging out was me hanging out with her while she played Assassin's Creed. And I'm just like, hey, can I play? And she's like, no. I'm just like, worst relationship ever. All right, so let's
My
go.
main experience with Assassin's Creed is just hearing a lot of people say Ash Creed Bro.
I don't know what that means.
Assassin's
it's one of the
Creed Brotherhood.
Ash Creed Bro is one of the most powerful shouts from Skyrim.
I don't know what that means either.
You're a fake nerd girl, Greg.
I mean, I really am. I have just like enough expertise in weird areas where you're just like, Greg has to be a nerd, and it's more just I'm into just a couple things a lot, and I'm actually not really a nerd. I was like, man, Frozen is so great, and Dragon Ball, and Batman, and so is basketball, you guys. All right, let's go through this ranking from the bottom to the top. Keep Me Waiting. Long, long road. Molly. What Happens in the Darkness. When the Bell Rings. Too Many Mondays. She. Love Her All I Can. Simple Type. Sweet Ophelia. But the best song on Wicked Lester, according to this panel of experts.
Drum, 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 crash.
We Want to Shout It Out Loud. A cover song.
I didn't know that.
From the song title alone, this sounds like a knockoff of the Kiss song.
Well, it later inspired the Kiss song Shout It Out Loud.
Ah.
Where they were like, you know what? I think that's a good general concept for the band, and we should try to incorporate some 60s popisms into our new songwriting. So, like, take our heavier sound, but mix in some 60s pop style, but write in an original piece. And so that's where Shout Out Loud came from, was sort of like nostalgia for this song.
I didn't. Is this is a cover?
It's a Hollies cover. Remember how I said they sound like the Hollies?
Okay.
Their producer was
really
like, hey, you guys sound like the Hollies. You should just cover a Hollies song.
Well, this is a really good song, so good call.
Yeah. And hot take, I think this is actually better than the Hollies version.
Ooh.
I think Gene delivers a better vocal, and that the track just has more sincerity and energy. And it's not that the Hollies version isn't very good. They're actually very close, so I could see like someone going either way. But I think just the production on this and just like everything is coming together very cohesively, where I could see this song getting played on radio right next to Precious and Few by Climax and Bay City Rollers. It would fit in well in that radio playlist because I remember what those sound like. But it's a great song done well, and I think one of the things is that like Gene has gone on record as saying like this kind of music feels more natural to him than Kiss stuff, and with Kiss stuff he's sort of putting on an act and has to like consciously think about it. But if he just like writes from his natural state of being, like who he is at the core of his soul, it's stuff like this. And so when he performs stuff like this, it feels very natural and sincere. And I think that's why it works so well, because it's just, kids playing a song that they love, doing it well. So I dig it. Thumbs up. I ranked it at number 1. Victor, you also ranked it number 1.
Yeah, I mean, I found myself just singing it a lot throughout my daily life. Very catchy. It's really good. It does. I mean, it has that kind of 60s, just kind of like wistful energy for good reason, apparently. Yeah, I straight up really like this song. It's a Kiss classic with a capital WL.
I got that joke. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
So Steve, you gave this 8 points. I mean, you were also in a 60s pop band. How do you compare this to your early work?
I also didn't realize this was a cover. I thought this song was okay. I like story songs a lot, and this story is pretty boring. I mean, I get it's your standard, like, we're deeply in love and want to tell the whole world, but for whatever reason we can't. Like, I don't know.
Oh,
like,
you don't like Romeo and Juliet.
no, because there's murder in Romeo and Juliet.
As this could be vaguely assigned to be the story of.
Yeah, if somebody got murdered in the end of this one, I'd be like, sweet, yeah, that was worth it. I love it. But no, there was like no death, no violence, no space aliens, no time travel.
Not even any shouting, technically.
Right. They want to shout it out loud, but they won't.
I don't know. I like the... I don't need there to be death and space aliens in my love songs to be able to enjoy them. Just like how I don't need there to be death and space aliens in my real love life to be able to enjoy it. Just like, if someone's just like, I am in a relationship and I want to tell the world about my relationship, and then maybe, your romantic partner is too shy or there's some other reasons, maybe this could be like, a closet anthem, for gays back in the day. Like, we want to shout it out loud, but we can't.
I could picture Kiss attempting to pull something like that off. Be like, yeah, we wrote an anthem, a gay anthem for people who are still in the closet. You should totally give us money. Like, they could do that kind of thing, but I don't know. I don't think they did.
Well, no, because they didn't write this one.
That's true.
But, I could see Kiss doing that. And the thing with Kiss has always been incredibly libertarian.
Right.
You'd think they'd be the one doing a concert about Ayn Rand books, but no, it was Rush.
Greg just loves a lot of libertarian, music icons such as Rush and Kiss and Elsa.
Right.
I love that you cited somebody who's explicitly a monarch. Yeah, libertarian Elsa. She's all like, yeah, power structures are bad and should be dismantled.
I mean,
people should be free to behave how they want.
She gave up her throne.
Yeah,
that's true.
She went to live in the wilderness.
Yeah, she gave up her throne to live in the wilderness where the big government can't tell her what to do.
Yeah.
Well, she's really more of an Anne Prim.
But yeah, what can I say? Libertarians, I love their music and I hate their concepts. Guys, what if we just decided not to do anything? That would fix all the problems. If we just do absolutely nothing, that will fix everything.
Communism is when a government does a thing.
Right.
And it's bad.
Right. If the government does anything at all, it's bad. So we just stop doing everything. The world will be so much better. Why are you doing shit? Stop it. So now that we alienated Libertarian Joe, we're only down to 58 listeners. Oh, and Libertarian Caleb, down to 57.
Surprised it took this long, honestly.
You're right. I know they were chomping at the bit for this Wicked Lester episode.
Like, I love Wicked Lester. What? They insulted libertarianism. How could they?
How could they insult the perfect political philosophy that has zero flaws?
It's just never been tried yet on a large
freedom,
scale.
Greg?
What?
Do you hate freedom, Greg?
I mean,
that's what libertarianism is all about.
I listen to Rage Against the Machine, so I guess I hate freedom.
Yeah, right.
Did you know those guys are political?
I had heard this,
I
but I
can't
didn't
believe those guys who, interviewed Noam Chomsky are political.
Wait, I thought the Che Guevara shirts were just about his fashionable taste in headgear.
Right?
Or the way his chiseled features just look really great printed on a T-shirt.
I just thought they were really big Thin Lizzy fans, and just well, this was also by Jim Fitzpatrick, so it's a way of showing I'm a Lizzy fan, but being kind of cool and edgy about it.
It's the way to be a Lizzy fan in the 90s.
Right.
Cool and edgy about it.
Cool and edgy about it. The Thin Lizzy story.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the album. Wrap up thoughts. Victor, you seem to come away from this experience positive. Did you listen to the first Kiss album in comparison?
I didn't listen to the full album. I listened to the tracks that they retooled for this. I might listen to it though today in a little bit when I go to visit Julia at work and hang out.
You listened to tracks from the third album, so the first album doesn't have either of these songs.
Okay, I'll listen to the first album. I guess I didn't put that. I mean, I knew that.
Yeah, you go back with the. You know what? You've gone back with these guys so long that just like sometimes memories blur together. It's all just a giant mesh.
You know that thing like how George R.R. Martin like has to consult the fan like guide of like where everybody is when he's writing the books because he doesn't remember it, but like somebody who's more removed from their material from the like just from the consuming standpoint rather than the creation standpoint is able to better catalog that stuff. It's that, but for Kiss.
Yeah,
Paul R.R. Stanley.
Paul R.R. Stanley. But yeah, so generally walking away from this
for the next album to come out.
Yeah. I would go as far as to say if this album got officially released by the Kiss Co., I would purchase it.
Oh damn.
I think it's that good.
That's high praise. You know, I have to get your opinion on comparing it to the first album and whether or not you thought what you think of the artistic pivot, because I think that'll be very interesting to get your take on that.
Yeah.
So, Steve, what are your thoughts on Kiss Episode 1, The Phantom Menace?
It was okay. I feel like there's nothing on it that I found, as I said earlier, there's nothing on it that I found absolutely terrible. It's not the sort of thing I'd be likely to go back and listen to, just like, I feel this is a product hasn't aged super amazing. There are a couple songs on here that updated versions by more, youthful and interesting bands could be very cool. But, they've certainly done worse.
Youthful and interesting bands. Am I hearing Kiss full album cover, Wicked Lester?
Oh, with the current lineup? Oh, geez. Gross.
Did I say Kiss? I meant to say lipstick.
Well, you see, we can't record right now because Steve is remodeling his house, so like we can't do anything.
We're recording right now.
Our studio's in a bit of
Let's just like do it.
This is a podcast.
Quality.
We can't.
No, we should definitely confuse those two genres as much as possible.
They're both on Spotify.
Yeah, they're both on Spotify. One of them. Ours
isn't.
What?
Our podcast is.
Our podcast is not on Spotify. Mainly because there actually are a couple episodes that would get taken down because artist music is used, and also because I just didn't feel like submitting it. I was lazy. But yeah, my wrap-up thoughts on this album. It's fine. It's got some enjoyable stuff. I think it's better than I probably have given it credit for in the past. It's youthful, it's sincere, and I think they ultimately made the right artistic pivot in terms of at least commercial success. But I wish that throughout the course of their career, they would have a couple more curveballs per album. Like, just have the balls to be like, let's put some flute on here. Like, I understand why they needed to refine the sound, but I think they maybe ran away too much from experimentation as a counter to that. And so I would have preferred, a little bit more venturing outside the box, but then again, whenever they venture outside the box, Kiss fans got upset and they made less money. So never mind. Kiss, you did it right. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. You guys figured it out. Good for you.
I think that is, to drop the facade, as it were, just for a moment. I do think it's interesting as someone who doesn't know actually all that much about Kiss, all things considered. When I think of Kiss, I do have something very specific in mind, and I can hear a lot of songs in my head. Whereas this, having heard this album a couple of times now, would have a little bit of difficulty describing it. And it's valuable, at least monetarily, which I understand is money is something that the very Kiss boys have some affection for. Monetarily, it's to your advantage to be predictable in that way.
Well, I have some exciting news for our panelists. So, as mentioned, we're going to take a few weeks off to give Steve some time to remodel and do stuff around the house. But, we record in advance, so I don't know how many weeks off that'll be for the listeners. But I have really exciting news for Victor for appearing on the show again. Victor is really excited because he's going to listen to every Kiss album and rank all the albums with us.
I mean, if I have a few
is that
weeks...
the next episode that we're doing?
That is the next Kiss episode we're doing. We might do another Pumpkins one in between, depending on life and circumstance. But Victor, thank you so much for agreeing to be our guest on ranking the entire catalog. So I'm so excited that you're going to listen to every single Kiss album and every studio album and then rank it alongside us. So thank you.
Greg knows that if he says this on the podcast, I will actually do it.
I mean, I know.
I mean, if he says it to you on Facebook, you'll probably do it too.
That's a good point. Although he did tell me to do the entire Bruce Springsteen catalog, and I did decline.
Right. Well, that also was more of a crunch time wise, and I mean, and also that wasn't my show. That was me guessing on someone else's show. I'm like, man, I know a guy who would do a ridiculous project like this. But I think because you've heard our podcast on every Kiss album, you kind of know what to expect with each release to a degree.
Yeah. So I can go in with some preconceived notions, as you're always supposed to do.
Yeah, go in with some preconceived notions and biases. But Victor has been such a part of the show and this journey. I feel like he should be on that episode.
Sure.
I mean, I came in so late into the Kiss process.
Right, but you've listened to all the episodes, and you've been on enough of the Kiss episodes where it's like, you know what? Let's get that fresh, hot Victor perspective on this. That hot Victor perspective. And, dude, you listened to a year's worth of Ultima Final Fantasy, and a lot of those episodes weren't great. So you can handle a lot of these Kiss albums. That's
true enough.
Like, if you can listen to Joe and Caleb, like, cooking ramen for an hour, you can listen to a Kiss album.
That's the bar.
That's the bar. There's
some good stuff in those ramen episodes.
Yeah, is Kiss at least as interesting as, like, Joe cracking an egg and like, ooh, the ramen tastes better now?
Yeah.
Are they at least that compelling?
What a surprising reveal.
Ooh, reveal. Now we're talking.
I asked you to ramen if it tasted better.
But you can, like, internalize in your head, like, ooh, this is the reveal of the Kiss catalog.
Yeah, I'll just match it up with all the REM albums, a catalog I'm equally familiar with, because I know a lot about Kiss. I'm back under the facade, by the way.
Oh, got it.
Good. Thank you for clarifying. Otherwise, we would have missed.
Is that episode, is that going to have other people, or is it going to be the Power Trio again?
I don't know.
That would be embarrassing.
There's a part of me that wants it to just be the Power Trio. Because I think that'd be funnier. So I haven't decided that yet. The idea is either, like, I try to get rankings from all of our former guests, and then maybe comments from them, but then it might just be the Power Trio discussing the ranking.
That could work. You could even do it kind of the way that you did the Bad for Good thing, where it's like split. There's an episode that's just about people who couldn't be on the episode and their opinions on it.
Oh yeah, make it a multi-parter because the downloads are better. Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
I think that this episode, the second part 2 of the Wicked Lester episode, where we just talk about how sausage is made, I think that's going to be a real hit with the fans.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Oh, speaking
podcasters people love when the podcasters talk about how they make their podcast on the podcast.
Speaking of,
this is called Making a Murder, not Making a Murder podcast, you guys.
I do have one question that was brought up because I have a friend who I thought might be interested in this album, and we talked about it for a little bit. and he had one question that I thought maybe would come up, but it did not.
Okay.
Do you know where the name Wicked Lester came from?
No idea. It's a terrible band name.
I'll tell him to listen through the whole fucking episode because we address it at the end.
Yeah,
I mean, it's teenagers. It's on a scale of 1 to Leonard Skinner. Where does it fall in terms of terrible band names?
I mean, Leonard Skinner is a cooler band name.
His guess was it was a reference to the director of several Beatles films, Richard Lester.
I mean, that's possible. Let's see. I'm on the Wikipedia page.
Wikipedia doesn't know.
They liked the name because it's unusual. That sounds like some teenage bullshit. It sounds weird, man. So basically, yeah, they just came up with a shitty band name.
Oh, Wicked Lester, let your heart reach out.
So I'm really looking forward to that James Gameboy cover of the entire Wicked Lester album.
Careful what you wish for.
So, Victor, where can we find you and your Wicked Lester cover album on the internet?
Wicked Lester cover album should be up sometime this afternoon on all relevant platforms under the name James Gameboy on Spotify, Patreon, and Bandcamp. And I'm going to stop plugging my Twitter because it's dumb. Thank you. Oh, God, thank you.
And Steve, where can people find us on the internet?
They can find us at lipstickgeneration.com, and Lipstick Generation is our name on a bunch of other platforms, too.
And that is our episode. Bye, Internet.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Lipstick Panel, hosted by Lipstick Generation. Lipstick Generation's music can be found on all major streaming platforms and at lipstickgeneration.com. If you're listening to the podcast on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know your ranking of the subject in the comments down below. Feel free to leave us an episode suggestion also. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app, please leave a review and tell a friend about our show. Thanks and rock on!